one of the first recipes I'm going to start with is homemade lasagna. And there are steps that you have to do before you even start making it. I have a pot out here to get water boiling. You don't want it at a full boil, you just want it warmed enough so that you can put your noodles in and get them soft so that they're pliable enough for you to work with them. This is a bowl I'm going to use to mix my ricotta mixture. And I also have a pot of sauce. I kind of took a shortcut and I used store-bought, but at some point I will show you how to do homemade sauce. And if that is what you would like to learn, leave that in the comments. So one of the things that I try to do is start with cold water because it brings the salt and the water up to temperature at the same time. So you're not worried about the water being too salty actually. The next step we're going to do is we are going to make the ricotta mixture. So I have two 3-pound containers of ricotta cheese. You can use any brand you want. I happen to be using this particular brand because that's the one I found at the store. So we dump that in the bowl. Let me get it to come out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add eggs. Now normally I would add about 1 egg per pound of the cheese. I have jumbo eggs that I have, so they're a little bit bigger, so I cut it down to 5 eggs for the 6 pounds that's going together. And you want to pre-beat them before you add them to the cheese because you don't want to try and chase the yolks around. So you put that in. Then I add maybe a handful of shredded mozzarella cheese. That just gives you a nice cheese pull when you're eating it. And I also add some grated cheese. This is all flavor enhancement. Just eyeball it. Then I add some onion powder. And again, I just eyeball it. Get it out of the container. It would be nice, huh? I just eyeball it. Probably about 2 tablespoons maybe. It depends on how you like it to taste. And then garlic powder, of course, because that's like a main staple. You can't do anything without garlic. And again, it's probably about 2 tablespoons. I like it very garlicky, so I add a little bit more. Keeps the vampires away. So then you have to work the cheese and you gotta mix the eggs in and all the spices. If you want to skip a step with putting the spices in and having to worry about mixing it, you can actually put it into your beaten eggs and then it combines a little bit easier. Once I get this all mixed up, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for a little bit and let it tighten up some so it's not real soupy. And I wanted to let you know about the sauce. I did use store-bought sauce. I'm sure I told you that the first time. But I always doctor mine up, even though I use store-bought. I put garlic powder, I put onion powder, and I also put pepper. You don't really need salt because usually those containers are pretty salty to begin with. And then I add a little bit of hot pepper flakes. And that's just giving it some flavor. It doesn't really make it hot, it just gives it more flavor. You want to make sure you dig all the way down to the bottom and stir it up over itself so you make sure you combine everything together. kind of like turning it over. So that's pretty much done. That's what it looks like. It's all combined with the egg and everything. So we're going to put a little piece of probably wax paper over the top so it doesn't get like a skin on it. So you want to put it on like this and kind of press it down so that it keeps it from getting too much air in it, and it keeps it from getting a skin on top of it. Now we're going to put it in the refrigerator for maybe about 30 minutes so that it can get a little bit more solidified. And then I'm going to turn this water off because I don't need it boiling. Like I said, I just need it hot enough to make the noodles a little bit more pliable so I can fit them in the pan. So this is about the size pan that I use. And after the ricotta mixture has solidified a little bit, I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So I wanted to explain about why I said start with the cold water. If you put salt into boiling water, it will overflow and then you'll have a mess. I've also set the oven at 350 degrees. It is now up to temp, and I have the noodles in the warm water. It's not boiling, it's just very hot to make them pliable for me to put them together in the pan. So, and my ricotta mixture has rested for a little bit. So I'm going to start layering now. I start out with, at the bottom of the pan, you start out with a layer of the sauce. You don't want to drown it, but you do want to have enough for the noodles to rest in. So that's what we're doing now. We're putting the sauce in. Then I'm going to make sure it's pretty even. I always shake my pan because that makes it get more even. Now I'm going to move the pan over here because I'm going to start taking the noodles out and then filling it with the ricotta mixture. So I'm getting you see how pliable it is? You don't want them too pliable because they'll fall apart. So I'm laying them down in the sauce. And it doesn't matter if you get a little bit of water on the noodle inside the sauce. It really doesn't matter. All this is going to all cook together and they're all going to get along in the oven. That went down the tongs. Oop. I misburned myself. So now I have a layer of the noodles. Now I'm going to take the ricotta mixture, which was sitting in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. So it's come together some. And I'm going to do dollops of the ricotta mixture. probably about 1/4 of a cup for each, dollop that you do. And this is going to spread out when it cooks. That's one of the reasons why you put it in the fridge for a little bit, to let it set up a little so it doesn't get really mushy. Now we're going to repeat the process. We're not going to put as much sauce as we put the first time. We're just putting a little bit. Like I said, it's all going to get happy together in the oven. It's going to all melt and all become one. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reverse the way that I put the noodles in. I'm not going to put them this way. Now I'm going to put them this way. It makes for a stronger base by alternating the noodles. These crazy tongues keep closing on me. Come on, babies, come on out. These little buggers do not want to separate. Ow. Come on. And when they go this way, what I do, I forgot to get a knife out, I'll just break it. I do these in half, because it doesn't quite, see how there's not quite the whole length of this, and it'll overlap. We're going to try to break it so it fits in there. It's kind of like doing a puzzle. Oh. I'm working on another layer, and this layer, when I put the noodles in, they're going to go this way again, the way we did them the first time. So kind of like a lattice work, if that's what you want to refer it to it as. As I said before, it gives you a stronger base so that it's not falling apart. And I don't have to cut the noodles this time because they're going the other way. So once again, I'm going to put another layer of noodles that I have to cut. I should have got my cutting board out. But, and I also have to add more noodles to the pot because it takes approximately, I would say, 1.5 pounds of the noodles. And there's 1 pound in each box of the lasagna noodles. So it takes approximately 1.5 pounds to make this whole pan. And if I can get them apart, I'm going to go in this direction again, like I did before. Oh my God, that's hot. If your preference is to put meat in it, you can also make meatballs. And you can, after they're all fried, because you want to fry the meatballs, and I'll show you that in a later edition of how to make meatballs and how to do sauce from scratch. You can cut them in half after they're fried and lay them in between. When you put the cheese in, you can put the meatballs in there also. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We are humans, none of us are perfect. Working piece, I'll put that on top. Somewhere in here is another little piece that got lost. So this is my last layer, and then comes the really fun stuff. We are doing this last layer. All the cheese is in there. All the sauce is in there. I'm just kind of adding these extra noodles just to fill in some of the space. Then comes the really good stuff. Comes the cheese on top. So what I do, okay, so all the noodles are done. Get this off the stove. And I'm going to go into the fridge. And I'm going to get I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on top of this. And by the way, your sauce doesn't have to be hot when you're doing this, because it's going to, again, cook in the oven. And it's going to heat up in the oven. I have it in a pot, but I didn't turn it on. I didn't heat it. If you don't even feel like putting it in a pot, you can dump it right out of the jar if you're going to use store-bought. It's up to you. I try to spread it all around. Comes the great cheese bowl. This is shredded mozzarella. Put it all over the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to put foil over top of this also, because it helps keep the heat in and helps it cook down into the layers. And we don't want the cheese on top to get too brown. So we wait until about maybe 15 minutes before it's completely done. And then we take the foil off. And then we let the cheese on top get like a nice golden brown. Golden brown and delicious. In order to cover the pan, I got 2 pieces of foil and I laid them on top of each other, and I'm putting them together so that it makes a bigger piece, because they just don't make pieces big enough. But you want to make sure you seal this good, otherwise you'll let all the steam out and it won't cook real well. So you want to make sure it's very tight. And then what I do is I don't lay it across the top, because then the cheese will stick to it. So I make it kind of a tent, a little bit of a tent. And this is something that we do for Christmas Eve. We pretty much do the Feast of the 7 Fishes. I have a sister-in-law that brings a fish, it's like a fish salad, made with tilapia and things like that. I usually help with the stuffed olives. My sister, my oldest sister, she makes most of the food. She's the best cook in the family. She does a lot of the food. So we all bring something, we all contribute, and then we all get together. It's a big family affair. All the nieces and nephews and grandkids and great-grandkids and everybody is there. So it's a big, huge family event. So I'm going to put this in the oven now, and it's going to cook at 350 degrees for approximately an hour and a half. I will check it, of course. I'll lift the lid a little bit and check it in probably about an hour. And then I'll put it back in and let it finish cooking. might need help getting it in because it's very heavy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the lasagna's out of the oven. I baked it a little bit longer because I made it kind of deep. This is how we like it though. We like it a little crispy on top. Actually, it was in the oven for probably about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. So I'm going to cut it and I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside. I think I'll do this corner. This one looks pretty good. And I don't need a knife. You just use a turner and just push it down inside. Ooh, look at that. Steamy, hot, and delicious. I didn't get all the way down there, but that's okay. We'll get that piece later. And now I'm going to cut into it. And I'm going to try a little bit. I kind of like the edge though. Might be a little too hot yet. Okay, that's way too much for me right now. It's too hot. Oh my goodness, it's so good. That was just the cheese. That wasn't even the pasta. Oh, there we go, some pasta. Delicious. You gotta try this recipe. It is so good. Mangia. Make sure that you hit the like button and the notification button so that you can be tuned in to all my upcoming